You've been lying there for 40 minutes. The room is dark, your phone is face down, and your mind won't stop. It moves from one thought to the next, not with urgency, but with this quiet, restless pull, like it's searching for something it can't name. You've probably told yourself this is a problem, but what if it isn't? What if your mind at night is doing exactly what it was built to do, and the real question is, what was it built for? Chapter 1. The problem we didn't know was ancient. Here's something nobody tells you about your sleepless nights. The experience you're having right now, lying in the dark, your mind drifting, alive, unsettled, has been happening for 300,000 years. Every single ancestor you've ever had did this. In huts, in caves, beside dying fires, under skies so dark the stars felt close enough to touch. They lay there too, minds open, thoughts moving. And for most of that time, there were no phones to reach for, no light to turn on, no way to fill the silence, just the night and whatever the mind chose to do with it. The question is, what did it choose? Because here's what psychology is starting to understand. The brain doesn't go quiet at night, it shifts. It moves into a different mode entirely. And that mode has a purpose that modern life has almost completely erased. And somewhere inside that erased purpose is a clue about why you feel the way you feel, not just at 2 a.m., but in your life in general. We'll come back to that. But first, let's talk about what the night actually looked like for the humans who came before us. Chapter 2. The world they woke into. For roughly 99% of human history, night meant one thing: darkness so complete that you could not see your own hand. The only light was fire, and fire had a radius. Step outside it, and the world disappeared. So people stayed close. They gathered, and in that gathering, something happened that behavioral scientists now believe was one of the most important cognitive developments in human history. They talked. Anthropologist Polly Wisner spent years recording conversations among hunter-gatherer communities in the Kalahari Desert. What she found was striking. During the day, roughly 80% of conversation was practical: logistics, food, coordination. But at night, around the fire, that number almost reversed. Over 80% of nighttime conversation was stories, myths, distant people, things that didn't exist yet but could. The brain, freed from survival tasks and held in the warmth of firelight, turned toward imagination. And here's the psychology behind why. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, judgment, and self-monitoring, begins to ease its grip in low-light, low-threat environments. What activates instead is the default mode network. This is the brain's internal storytelling system. It's what fires when you're not focused on a task. It weaves together memory, emotion, and hypothetical futures. It's where empathy lives, where creativity begins, where identity forms. Your ancestors didn't have a word for the default mode network, but every night, without knowing it, they were living inside it. Chapter 3. You are not broken. Before we go further, let's stop for a second. If you've ever felt guilty for thinking too much at night, if you've ever stared at the ceiling and wondered why your brain won't just let you rest, there's something you need to hear. That restlessness isn't dysfunction, it's inheritance. The mind that won't go quiet after dark is the same kind of mind that built language, culture, art, and every story ever told. It is not a flaw in your design, it is the design. The problem isn't that your brain is too active at night. The problem is that we've given it nothing meaningful to do and then filled the silence with noise that only makes it louder. Your ancestors didn't fight the nighttime mind, they followed it. And what they found there, what psychology is now rediscovering, changed everything about what it means to be human. Chapter 4. The psychology of what happened in the dark. Here's where it gets fascinating. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Ware ran an experiment at the National Institute of Mental Health. He removed artificial light from participants' lives for a month, giving them 14 hours of darkness each night. Within weeks, every single person settled into the same sleep pattern: 4 hours of sleep, then a quiet period of wakefulness lasting 1 to 2 hours, then 4 more hours of sleep. Nobody told them to do this, it just happened, as if something ancient had been waiting. During that wakeful window, Ware measured hormone levels. What he found was remarkable. Participants were producing elevated prolactin, the same hormone released during deep meditation in states of emotional bonding. They described the experience as peaceful, reflective, borderless. Think of it this way. The normal waking brain is like a flashlight, narrow, focused, directed outward. The nighttime reflective brain is more like a lantern. It illuminates softly in all directions. It doesn't chase, it notices. Psychologists call this a hypnagogic adjacent state. It sits at the edge between waking and dreaming. And in that state, the brain makes connections it can't make during the day between old memories and new feelings, between unresolved fears and emerging understanding. Your ancient ancestors weren't wasting time lying in the dark. They were processing, integrating, becoming. Chapter 5. What you can actually do with this. So what does this mean for you, lying awake tonight? Here are 5 principles, each grounded in the psychology of the nighttime brain. First, stop treating wakefulness as failure. Research on sleep shows that catastrophizing wakefulness is one of the primary drivers of chronic insomnia. The moment you label lying awake as a problem, your cortisol rises and your chance of sleep drops. Instead, reframe it. You're not failing to sleep. You're in the second phase of a very old rhythm. This shift in belief alone, what psychologists call cognitive reappraisal, measurably reduces nighttime anxiety. Second, let the default mode network do its work. Rather than reaching for your phone when you wake in the dark, try staying with the thoughts that surface. The default mode network needs unstructured time. When you immediately replace quiet with stimulation, you interrupt a process your brain initiated for a reason. Ancient humans lay in the dark and let their minds move. You can do the same. Start with 5 minutes of just noticing whatever arises, no judgment, no direction. Third, reduce light in the 2 hours before sleep. Blue light from screens suppresses melatonin by signaling daylight to your brain. Studies show that even 1 week of camping, no artificial light resets melatonin timing by nearly 2 hours. You don't need to go camping. Just dim your environment after sundown and let your circadian rhythm remember what it already knows. Fourth, use the wakeful window for reflection, not stimulation. Historical records show that people in the pre-industrial world used the hours between first and second sleep to think, to pray, to process their dreams while they were still fresh. This isn't mystical. It's what the hypnagogic adjacent brain is literally designed for. If you wake in the middle of the night, keep the lights off. Let a question sit in your mind without demanding an answer. Fifth, reconnect with narrative. The campfire was humanity's first classroom, not because of the fire, but because of the stories. Storytelling activates the default mode network, builds empathy, and consolidates memory. Reading fiction before bed, not the news, not social media, but actual narrative primes your brain to move into the reflective mode your ancestors lived inside every night. Chapter 6. The Lantern Model. Here's the one mental model to carry with you. Think of your nighttime mind as a lantern, not a flashlight. The flashlight brain is for the day focused, practical, efficient. It solves problems, it plans. But the lantern brain is for the night. It illuminates softly. It doesn't chase, it holds. Ancient humans sat inside that lantern light every night and let it do what it was meant to do. Connect memory to meaning, fear to understanding, solitude to belonging. We didn't lose that capacity. We just stopped giving it space. Tonight the sun will go down, and somewhere between the last light and the first dream, your mind will begin to do something old and true. It will wander, it will wonder. It will move through time and memory without a destination. Don't fight it. That mind, the one that won't go quiet, the one that reaches for something it can't name, is the same mind that sat beside 10,000 fires and told the first stories ever told. You are not broken. You are just remembering. And if that thought stayed with you, if something in this felt true, then you already know why you're here. Subscribe for more deep dives like this. Because on this channel, we don't just look at what people do, we decode their minds.